You know what? I'm kind of watching the time, and I want to make sure that we touch on your book
Okay,
and how it's called. Here's Why You Can't Find Love.
correct.
How does this tie into the individuals or teams? What was the starting point for that book, and how does it help you as you're working with some of these individuals?
So I wrote the book because uh, divorce rate is over 50%. That can't be healthy for any country. um, and um, I've for decades people have been asking me, why do you care about divorce rates? Like, why are you making? You're always talking about it needs to be handled and blah blah blah. So I could never tell people why. I just knew it was a problem in our society. And so, if you can't make that relationship work between two people and then you go to work and, maybe you're not good at collaborating with people at work also. And if you are triggered by things in your divorce, you're going to be triggered by the same thing at work. Just the difference at work is you have what we call professional business etiquette, and you're not allowed to behave in a certain way. But at home, there's no etiquette. There's sky's the limit. You can just do anything.
Mhm.
So then I found some numbers. There's an organization called Life Innovation, and they said that corporate America is losing $300 billion every year to workplace productivity. Did we talk about that?
No.
Oh, okay, perfect. So why do you think corporate America is losing $300 billion every year in workplace productivity?
Yeah, people are distracted and they're wound up in their own cycle in their head about how things ought to be done or how relationships happen, and they can't really separate between personal and professional. And
Okay.
so they carry the baggage from home into work, and that then prevents them from being highly productive and efficient because they're still working through their own personal loop.
That's pretty good, and I would sum it all up in one word. You want to take a shot at that one word?
No, I want you to tell me.
The suspense. um, the lack of productivity is because of divorce.
Oh,
And so there's another organization that found when people are going through divorce, their productivity at work drops by 50 to 75%. So imagine you have a percentage of your employees headed for a divorce, another percentage in the middle of it, and another that just came out of it. They're distracted.
and that is, there's a gal I interviewed. I know her from Chicago, Karen Covey, and she helps people to get off the fence. She used
Okay.
to be an attorney, not a divorce attorney.
Okay.
She never wanted to touch anything with divorce. After she retired from law, she realized how much she'd observed in the courtroom about human behavior.
Right.
And to your point, and some of these metrics, what Karen does is help people who are stuck in the loop of, I can't get a divorce, the kids are too young. I can't get a divorce, fill in the blank. And all of the anxiety and the thoughts that get stuck in here, like Karen and I were talking about, when the voices in your head are louder than any stimuli coming from the outside, you're never going to get it out of there, whether it's
Right.
positive or
Right.
negative. And this is what holds people up from full engagement and enjoyment is indecision.
That's part of it, but I'd like to mitigate the whole divorce problem. So my book was written because often people marry someone who's not compatible with them.
Mhm.
We're excuse me. We're taught to believe, well, I know myself. But when I talked about the woman who was an attorney, she couldn't tell me the reason she has to be right is because of that event that happened in the dentist's office. So this is something she didn't even know. She didn't know about herself, even though it happened to her. And when she asked me, why do I always have to be right? Maybe I knew her for a year at the time. How would I know it's something that happened at around the age of 5? But I didn't know what the event was, but I assumed I did. I have seen enough people to know that certain things happen about around a certain age range.
Yeah.
And so Um, we are not educated. Maybe things like psychology and neuroscience should be part of our high school education so people can better understand themselves. And that makes it easier to choose a spouse who's compatible with you, not
Yeah.
someone who has things in common with you for this part of your life, because then you grow out of the things that you have in common, and now it seems like this is the wrong person. The other part is, when you look at conflict resolution, the secret to conflict resolution is the conflict almost never has anything to do with the situation or the person. It's what the conflict reminds you of. And it's unresolved conflicts that you have that you really kind of project out on the other person. So if you don't know how to resolve that conflict within yourself, you're fighting other people all the time. And that's at work. You don't even have to be in a divorce. You can be a single person who's, walking around with their sword, cutting heads off all day long, because you're not good at resolving your own conflicts. So you're taking it out on other people. So
Yeah.
that's that's one of those things that's built into my work. It's not conflict resolution, but when you can distinguish, I have to be right and fight. This has been happening since 5, and I can see when it happens. I now have a choice